Good morning, fellow stackers. It's a Saturday, and you know what that means? It means I'm going to open some of the post that has come in this week and talk about some of the new things that I've bought and which I'm really excited about because this is something completely new for me. First up is my first 1 ounce silver bar. This is from the, what does it say here? Southeast Refining, Panama City, Florida. 1 troy ounce. It's a fairly beaten up bar. I'm glad it's in a little metal case, but I've taken it out for this purposes, or for this purpose rather. You can see it's got some discoloring around the edges. If I look at it here, so for example, there's a kind of blue brown colour to this, and again around this edge here, but I like it. It's my first ever flat bar. Remember I showed you a few weeks ago that Germania Mint tiny little bar that was short and quite stubby. This one is quite lovely. It's very light, very thin. I can show you there how thin that is. Compare that, for example, to my pocket knife from Sheffield. This is an old knife. I've had this a long, long time. Who is it? I think this is a Warnes. Does that say Warnes on there? Maybe it does. I need to get some magnifying glasses to understand that better. But yeah, it's a Sheffield pocket knife, and you can see how thin this little bar is. I loved it because it said Panama City, and then it said Florida. Not quite the same as Panama City in Latin America, but nonetheless, I like it, and I'm going to put it back in its little case and protect that for the future. Silver, by the way, yesterday on Friday had gone up a lot during the week. I think it went up 8 or 9%. I haven't checked it this morning to see what it is. Today we're on the 7th of June. Yesterday around Europe, there's quite a lot of coverage on the media about the memorials and the commemoration services of D-Day because, of course, the deliverance of Europe began with a wholesale invasion of northern France by hundreds of thousands of troops on the 6th of June, and that was a significant turning point in the war and has made all the difference. Some would say maybe it hasn't made a lot of difference. I'm going to look at another US 1 ounce bar. This is absolutely beautiful. This is still in, I think, what's called proof condition. It's the Archangel Michael there with his sword and shield, and you can see the shield is going down into the mouth of the snake that looks to be breathing fire in that particular example. But it's stunning, very beautiful and shiny on this side. The capsule is laminated into a nice plastic case, but on the back of it, how depressing and uninviting is that? Just flat cardboard. I thought they could have made that look a little bit more beautiful. Scottsdale Mint, if you're looking, maybe you could take the same marketing and the lamination of the beautiful crowned lion on the front side and do something similar on the back. A bit of a letdown, I think, is what I felt about that. But forget the packaging, it's not important. What we've got here is 1 troy-ounce of silver, absolutely stunning image. Just look at that in the light above my desk. Absolutely beautiful. So let's put those two on the table for the time being. Let me just get a coffee. Next up, on the theme of a silver bar, I have to show you this. It's quite stunning, and it captures the imagination. You and I both know, or you and I hope there's more than one of you there, you and I, we know that there is a magic associated with treasure, with gold and silver found on the ocean floor. And there's lots of books that I've read that are fabulous about that, right from Treasure Island as a child to some of the books that Ian Fleming wrote and some of the articles he wrote for newspapers as he discovered his joy and passion around scuba diving. But have a look at this one. I'm going to show you the reverse of it first. It says SS TILAWA, shipwreck silver, 1 ounce, 3 nines, fine silver. Now this is still wrapped, I haven't opened it. I was tempted, but I thought, no, I won't do that. Have a look at the image of the ship, first of all. There's the ship in the circle. And around it we have, for the maritime connection, an anchor at the 9 and the 3 o'clock position and the waves. But the more you look at this silver bar, the more the wave pattern on the design around the circle is obvious. It's absolutely stunning, completely beautiful, and I find it mesmerizing. I can see why some stackers that I've found in the community, either through comments on different videos or in the way that they talk about the collections that they have, they actually just like to sit and look at their silver. And I have to confess, that has occurred to me. But the SS TILAWA was a troop ship during the Second World War, and on one occasion it was travelling in, when would it have been, 1942, from Ballard Pier in Bombay, now known as Mumbai, but in India, and it was bound for Durban. It was acting, like I've said, as a troop ship, and it had 952 souls on board, 732 passengers, mainly military personnel, and a huge crew of 272. Let's put it there. There it is. There we can see it very nicely. On the 23rd of November 1942, this ship was torpedoed by a submarine of the Japanese Imperial Navy. If you're interested, it was a vessel I-29, and it was torpedoed twice. The first one stopped the ship literally in its tracks. The second one sent the ship down. But what we know now, and obviously at the time it was a tragic loss of life, but obviously the cargo would have been kept secret, it was carrying 2,300 plus bars of silver bullion. 600 tons of cargo, but part of that was this huge haul of silver bullion. The intention of the focus of the trip was to take that cargo to South Africa, where the money would be minted into actual silver coinage for the South African and also for the Egyptian governments. But the ship never reached it. Hundreds of people perished. 280 actually died, just looking at my notes. 280 went down with the ship, and the remainder of the passengers were picked up on the second and third days of staying in the water in lifeboats, but many of them cast adrift in the sea. But they were picked up by a British ship called HMS Birmingham, which staggeringly collected 678 people. And then the following day, a merchant ship, RMS Carthage, picked up 4 people. Just imagine 678 passengers, all fitted onto one other vessel that came searching for them and answered a distress call. But that's it, the SS TILAWA. And what's amazing is to have a piece of silver that has been brought back up to the surface. Let me think. I know I've got some notes here. I'm just going to check those. Yeah, in 2017, the wreck was found at an incredible depth, 2.5 kilometers deep, so 8,200 feet deep. And using remote technology, a salvage company in secret recovered more than 2,300 of those silver bars, so almost 99% of the silver cargo that had gone down in 1942. There was a big argument. The South African government said, it's our silver. We had been in the process of transporting it for turning into coinage, and because it was a sovereign purpose, not a commercial purpose, the rules of salvage don't apply. And instead of the original decision, which was in favour of the salvage company, the High Court in England ruled in favour, eventually, of the South African government. But this is a piece of history, and if a little boy, excited by the stories of treasure, can hold a piece of silver in their hand and think, this is special, then a piece of SS TILAWA silver does it for me. But that's beautiful. And that, again, has turned up in the post this week. This one I got from Atkinsons Bullion, as I did the Scottsdale Mint. The other piece I bought from a private collector on a silver forum, and I'm delighted with it. But there's two other things that I was able to purchase which have completely made my day. And these are, I'm going to drop it so you get a sense of it, 10-ounce bullion bars. Thank goodness they are packaged. I wouldn't like to do that if it was straight against the wood or against one of my other tables. But they are stunning. Let me pick this up. This is with a face value of £10, and it says St Helena, £10, 2021, 10-ounce fine silver, 999, and it bears the face facing to the right of Elizabeth II. But what caught my imagination was the image on the front of this. The East India Company was, and still continues to be, interestingly, an organisation that has transported spices, all sorts of goods and products around the oceans of the world for a couple of 100 years. And it still has a presence in maritime activity, but also in importing and exporting around the world. But the beautiful image on, listen to the sound of that. But these are 20 ounces, so it's hugely boosted my tiny little collection of silver. But there's a masted vessel on there. Each one has got a two-masted vessel. No, in fact, there's three. Look at the rear mast on the rear deck. Beautiful, and with the East India Company logo. You see the EIC in the figure, or the motif here to the top. But the other thing that's beautiful about this is you've got these stunning ocean waves, but you've also, if I turn this over, so we have both sides of it at the same time, but you also have the lines of the globe spreading out. So for navigation of the globe and the movement of these vessels across the world, these 10-ounce bars beautifully capture the detail of that on the face, and as obviously on the obverse, Queen Elizabeth II. So this week I have managed to acquire 23 ounces of silver, in each piece tells its own story, and I am absolutely thrilled with what I've been able to get. So to Atkinsons, thank you for these 4 pieces, and to one of my private sellers, thank you very much for my piece of 1 ounce silver, which feels like such a tiny thing compared to the huge weight of this 10-ounce piece from the East India Company, or rather from St Helena, but portraying the history or the historical aspects of the East India Company as a maritime transport. This 1 ounce piece from Southeast Refining in Panama City, Florida. It's been an amazing week, and for me, it's been the largest week of purchases that I've made so far in my tiny little silver journey.